Y'all better stop complaining about going to work. Because thank God, thank the Lord, you're employed, you're making money, you have the money to pay for your bills, whatever you need, whatever you want in this economy.
And he's absolutely right. You should thank God if you have a job right now in this economy. And you guys, here's the real issue. They are lying about the data to deceive you into thinking that everything's okay. And they've recently disclosed that they are not going to release, the BLS is not going to release the October job market data. And so today we're going to go over all of those things. I'm going to show you guys how they're lying by pulling up additional information like job cuts and the unemployment rate, how many people are looking for jobs, because at the end of the day, it doesn't add up. And it's proof positive, at least in my eyes, and I think it's going to be in your eyes, that what they're doing is just deceiving us, and it needs to stop. The way we're going to roll everything out to y'all so that it's not super confusing is I'm going to take all of this data and I'm going to put it on a spreadsheet so we can just talk about it with one form. But I'm using this data right here, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This came out today. This is the Household Survey A9. And we're going to take a look at the bottom right here, which is full-time and part-time job growth. And then after that, we're also going to look at the unemployment rate, which again went from, and we're going to look at the year over year numbers. Okay, so what we're going to do is compare year over year. So the unemployment rate went from 4.1 to 4.4. So this did also change today. You can see that right there, updated November 20th. It's all a lie, you guys, but we're also going to use this, which is the unemployment level, which again was also updated today a couple hours ago, which has been skyrocketing up over the last year. I'll show you that data, but we're also going to use the Challenger because don't forget, you guys, we as a country had the worst October for job cuts since 2003. When we put all of this data together, here's what it looks like, and here's why the math doesn't add up. So let's start with the top. The top is what I just showed you. It's the BLS Household A9 report for September of 2025. We're going to look at both full-time and part-time. The first set of numbers here is from September of 2024. The second set is from August of 2025. The last set is from September of 2025. So again, the first set is your year-over-year comparison. The second set is your month-over-month comparison. Now, the top row is full-time. The bottom row is part-time. Now, here's what this is saying, okay? So for full-time, they're saying year-over-year job growth for full-time, regardless of all the stuff I'm about to show you guys, they're saying 1.56 million full-time jobs in 1 year. That is a lot of jobs to add, not remove, but add to the existing jobs, 1.56 million. And month over month, they're saying added for September, 233,000. And again, we've had some of the worst job cuts in history. When we look at part-time, the part-time jobs also went up year over year, 285,000. And they also went up month over month, 374,000. Now, when we add both of those together, the BLS is telling us as Americans that in 1 year, 1.845 million jobs were added. I want you guys to really think about that number. Now, month over month, it's 607, but I want to look at the year over year because it doesn't add up. So they're saying nearly 2 million added jobs in 1 year. Okay, but look at here. Let's go to the bottom left now. When we look at the unemployment rate. So when we go back to September of 2024, because we're comparing year over year information, the unemployment rate was 4.1%, which means the unemployment rate went up 0.3%, which equals 0.3%, so less than a full percent. 0.3% is 486,000 more people that don't have jobs. So just with that one set of data, how could you say that we have 1.8 million more jobs, but yet 486,000 or 500,000 Americans more are no longer working? It doesn't add up. And then when we look to the right and we look at the unemployment level, September of 2024, we had, as far as Americans looking for jobs, 6.9 Americans that were looking for jobs that couldn't find it. When you fast forward 1 year to September of 2025, that skyrockets up to 7.6 million Americans right now looking for a job. So that means an additional 702,000 more Americans are looking for a job. So far we have 486,000, almost 500,000 Americans more that are unemployed. We have nearly 750,000 more people looking for a job. And then look at down here, guys, when we look at job cuts. This is comparing Q3 of 2024 to Q3 of 2025. So Q3 of 2024, there was a total, and this was a lot, by the way. It was a bad year last year. Total was 609,000 job cuts. Fast forward to Q3 of this year, we have 946,000 job cuts. So when you start adding all of this together, it is literally an impossibility that we had an extra 1.8 million jobs. And the reason is because we have 3 other data sets that show the contrary to what that household survey just reported. This is an absolute atrocity. Now, before going to Mitch, we're going to listen to 2 videos from graduates, multiple graduates that are graduating college that are frustrated because they can't find a job. We have a tragedy going on right now when it comes to Generation Z getting out of college. All they have right now, they have no opportunity, no jobs, but what they do have is disappointment, frustration, and mountains of school loans. Let's listen to a few of these college graduates.
Since graduating college, I would say I've applied to around 200 jobs.
I would say I've applied to about 150, maybe more now.
Some of the interview processes consist of constructing models and valuations. Some of them are pitch decks.
I made it to the final round for one big tech company. Didn't end up getting it. I passed round 2 for another one, and the other ones either haven't heard back or just ghosted. Yeah.
It's a story that's becoming more common, and it's being reflected in an unusual new trend in the economic data. As far back as the numbers go, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates has been below the rate for all U.S. workers. But over the past few years, unemployment among recent grads climbed above the rate for the broader population.
This is essentially the first time on an ongoing basis that this has occurred in the 45 plus years that we have data going back to.
Matthew Martin is a senior economist at Oxford Economics.
So really, this is pointing towards a lot of people who have that higher educational attainment are actually worse off than many of their peers who have lower educational attainment. That's an interesting dynamic to have in a market where you're told you go to college, you work hard, you'll have a job after graduation. And unfortunately for many at the moment, that's just not happening.
For guys who really want to get ahead, and it's just not happening.
Young men are struggling to get jobs, even if they have a college degree.
It's wow, I can't even get a job as a busser.
I have 900 plus applications, and I have received nothing.
Men under 30 with bachelor's degrees have almost double the unemployment rate of young women with the same education level. According to data analyzed by NBC News, 6% of 23 to 30-year-old men with a bachelor's degree are unemployed. One reason for this?
Essentially, 100% of the labor force growth has been coming from the healthcare industry. And that industry is overwhelmingly female. While at the same time, you've seen these traditionally male blue-collar jobs in manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, mining, those have been down or flat.
And while a bachelor's degree is still valuable to women entering the workforce, it doesn't carry the same weight it once did for men. Data shows that young men with a bachelor's degree are actually slightly more likely to be unemployed than their peers who have just a high school diploma.
And I think what we're seeing more of is demand for credentialing of some kind that is aligned with the actual work rather than simply a college degree.
We are told that a college degree our whole life is a golden ticket to the American dream. So you graduate with this degree that's supposed to rocket you to a stable career, and you just fall flat on your face.
And beyond the economic implications, this shift can impact the mental and social health of young men too. In a Gallup poll published earlier this year, 25% of 15 to 34-year-old men reported feeling lonely compared to just 18% of women their age.
Emotionally, it's a bit rough. I want to get out there. I want to start my life. I want to be financially independent and maybe just feel a little bit successful, but it's tough.
These liars and frauds have stolen so much from us that we have a toxic waste dump left for a labor market. And that's why we have to always remember what inflation is and what the Federal Reserve is. And Mitch, I want to go to you. Mitch, do you think that they are withholding the October job data because they are withholding the BLS data for October? Do you think that they're doing that specifically to cook the books. And if they are cooking the books, because I don't even know anymore, Mitch, you think that they want to make the data better, worse? Because what we know is they don't want the truth. What are they going to do? Why are they doing it?
The BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, is producing a lot of busy work, but they are not producing a stitch of meaningful data. And part of the problem is on their own website, they admit that they aim for 90% accuracy. But when you get into their website, you realize that their data is not polled by a zip code. It's not polled by a school district. They pick and choose the communities that they want. And not every community across the United States is in their data. And although they produce an awful lot of information, if the information was good and accurate and not being used for purposes of manipulating the markets, then how can one possibly explain what literally just happened this morning? NASDAQ was up roughly 400 points. And as we speak, I just looked at it a minute ago, it's down roughly 184, and that's after the announcement from the BLS. In other words, it's being used to manipulate the public with the idea that they're going to further manipulate the numbers. The problem is it's manipulated right from the word go because it simply isn't true. It's not all the data. This is the definition of garbage in and garbage out. Now, could some of this be useful? Absolutely. The problem is you can't get to the truth. You need all these communities. Look at it this way. If you're a politician, and let's say that you're in Cleburne, Texas, just for the sake of conversation, it could be anywhere. It could be the Palisades, California. If you don't have access to the real unemployment numbers of your community, then how can you possibly do anything for the benefit of the community in terms of finding other methods of employment for your citizens? You are literally running blind. And that is what most politicians are doing. If you depend on the Bureau of Labor Statistics to tell you what's happening in Cleburne, Texas, you're an idiot. It doesn't exist. So you see, that's the problem. Garbage in and garbage out. So yeah, you could say that they may manipulate the data 60 days down the road. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. It isn't real to begin with. When you pick and choose what you want and you aim for a 90% accuracy factor, you're whistling in the wind.
You know, I want to ask you and get your take on people that don't go to college performing better in the job market. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell the viewers, and when I stop and I think about it, like what's really happening? At first, I thought that they would cook the books to make it look like we've been in recession and probably Biden's term. But now it seems like they're trying to make the data look better, which makes me way, way more concerned because it's like they're going 200 miles an hour straight into a wall instead of blunting the blow and helping us through bankruptcy, which is really what we thought that they would do. So I am worried, Mitch, and I'm going to go on record as saying that. I'm very, very worried, but I want to pivot and I want to get your thoughts on something absolutely atrocious, absolutely heartbreaking, un-American. What are your thoughts on the fact that if you go to college, you have a higher unemployment rate than if you didn't?
Well, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense, right? Skilled labor, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an auto body guy who's capable of bending metal. And some of these guys are really good. They can bend metal just like they're shaping butter. Phenomenally talented. Plumbers, electricians.
Right. But it was the American dream, though, right? So the American dream, you go to college, you get a job.
Wait a minute. But wait a minute. You have plumbers. Do you know how much money these guys make in an hour?
A lot.
Versus going to work for a tech company. I'll take the plumbing job. Thank you.
Yeah. No doubt.
So all things considered, those skills are in high demand. The problem with the tech companies, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And you've seen this play out. They hire the people, then they fire the people in fairly short order, sometimes a year, sometimes less. So it's not dependable. And therefore, the people who are looking to be employed have got to figure out, and we've said this before, what service is it that you can provide for that company to the point where you are a necessity of that company? You've got to get yourself locked in in order to have a long-term career with that particular company. But the way that things are going right now, well, they say, well, we have AI. AI really isn't a factor in this issue. The issue is, can you use AI to the benefit of the company? Not the idea, well, AI is going to be replacing X amount of jobs. AI will also end up creating other jobs. Nobody knows the total outcome of that situation. But what is clear, having the skills necessary for any type of employment is a factor. Problem is, if you just get a general degree from a college or a university, you're pretty well competing with everybody that's in your class unless you've got something special that you can offer to separate yourself from everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you got some points. To me, the elephant in the room, they cooked us. They cooked us. They stole the American dream of home ownership. They stole the American dream that if you go to school, you're automatically going to get a better paying job than if you didn't. They're taking all of our stuff, but not just our money, Mitch. And that's what was really kind of caught me off guard here. They're taking our peace. They're taking our communities. And they're honestly, a lot of families are being crushed by this. One of the biggest factors of divorce is finances. Life is about loving people, serving people, and doing the best you can to continue that and to lift people up. To me, that's what life's about. I want to go into the debauchery, Mitch, but you can't help but take a step back and tell yourself, if you were the age of these young men and women right now, would you have the same opportunity that you had when you were their age, when you were 20 years old? Is that same opportunity here today, realistically?
For a person who has the skills, yes. For a person who doesn't have the skills,
a normal person,
no. No, it isn't. But you see, this is part of the problem, and that's where I want to break this down for a second. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is not tracking the data at every locale being every school district. Well, if you can't look at a school district and say this school district produced this amount of students and this amount of students can't find a job, then how exactly do you determine the rate of return on the invested dollars in the school district? So if you take all these elements, be it the BLS data, then you add the appropriate unemployment in any given school district, and then you correlate to such things as SNAP to figure out the fraud, all three of these elements can be correlated, and then you get the truth. The problem is that everybody is, well, we're the BLS and we don't talk to the school districts. We don't grab the data from every school district. And that's how this should be done. Other than that, the information that's being produced is pretty well designed to manipulate people that are thinking that the data is worth something, and it isn't.
Well,
if you can't answer the question, what is the rate of return on the invested dollars put in these school districts via the taxpayers' money? So not only did the taxpayers get screwed, so did the students. That's the point.
It's bankruptcy. Well, the rate of return is bankruptcy, and it's not just the school districts, it's the students that are going to college. And that's the point that I think we're all trying to make here. This is all of this is debauchery. And to show you guys a little bit about what that debauchery looks like, let's take a look at the stock market. When the BLS released the report, the stock market surged. You guys, I still have this up so you guys can see what they were saying. Dow's up 500 points, NASDAQ and S&P surge after September job data. But when we go to the stock market, oh my gosh, just since we've been doing this video, the whole stock market has just flipped. This is absolutely insane. I'm going to bring up the VIX. Everything is down now. The VIX was, Mitch, when did this happen? When I started recording, the VIX was down, I think like 15%, and now it's reversed and it's up 10%. Let me show the viewers what the VIX is looking like today. Dang. So the whole time we're doing this video, look at the VIX is down. And then just all of a sudden, this son of a gun skyrockets. Oh my goodness, you guys. The market does not think the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates in December. This has shifted. I mean, the flip-flopping is, you know what? I'm going to refresh this because this may have changed since the stock market just changed. But before I refresh this, only 41.6% of the market is expecting a rate cut in December. So when I refresh this, let's see if it changes from 41.6%. It does. It goes down slightly to 39.6%. So the market's no longer expecting the Fed to cut rates. To Mitch's earlier point, let's take a look at the current population survey from BLS, okay? This is the design and methodology. And unfortunately, I can only get this for 2006. But what I really want to show you guys about this and how they're calculating this information, when I go to page 13, this is going to show you guys all of the times that they change what's called the Current Population Survey, or CPS. Okay, so look at the first change right here. This is so crazy. July of 1945. Okay, so look at just right above our head. And then after that, August 1947, July 1949 is changed, February 1952 is changed. I mean, these guys are, how do so many smart people keep getting it so wrong, or, you know, self-proclaimed smart people? Then they changed it January 1953, July of 1953. So three changes in 1953. Look at that. So they changed it again September of 1953. February of 1954, June of 1957. Look at all these changes. Look at all these dates. You guys want to come back here and see how they're cooking and changing the data? It's all right here. And I'm wondering, are they doing that with the government lockdown? Look at 1974, 1960s, more in 1970s. Now we get to 1980. Look at more and more and more changes. How can you compare the past when the data and the methodology is completely different? Look at 1998 change, 2001. I mean, they are changing this thing like crazy. September 2005. You guys, the debauchery is real. We're going to listen to two more videos. The first video is from a recent graduate that is homeless and can't find a job. And the second video is from a recruiter who is essentially going to try to give you guys some advice on how to find a job, but what she's not taking into consideration is the layoffs.
I feel like if I had housing, I would have been able to study a lot more. There were some times where I also couldn't go to school because I couldn't pay to get there on the subway. I feel like job culture has kind of changed in the way that, yes, having a high school diploma is great, but many of the jobs that you used to get just for getting a degree, you can't get anymore because it's not as valued anymore. But I do feel like other people's perception of me will change because I have a degree. It's like, oh, you may be, homeless, but now you're homeless with a degree. So now you have a hope, and now you have future, and now you can actually do stuff, which I think is honestly also just a misconception, because I feel like I'm still the same person before I got the degree. I felt relieved and a tiny bit proud, tiny bit. This is great. This is something that I can say that I did, and an achievement that I have that not a lot of people can say that they have, especially in my position. But at the same time, this is not the end, and it's not enough.
You haven't worked at your job for 2 years, you better not be looking for a new job. I don't care how much you hate your job, you have to work there for 2 years. If you care about your career and you care about the way your resume looks, listen to me. Great employees are not job hoppers. Great companies do not want to hire people that have a pervasive pattern of job hopping on their resume. If you want to command the top of the range, if you want to get the best salary offers, you cannot hop from job to job. You have to work places for more than 2 years. Job hopping only works temporarily. It might work in the short term, 1 or 2 hops early in your career, but it will bite you in the later. Here's the thing, you can't hide job hopping. On a resume, you have to put every single job that you've had. And if you work someplace for 9 months, a year, 6 months, a year and a half, and I have another candidate who wasn't a job hopper, who do you think I'm going to hire? If you really care about your resume and your career, you will not job hop. You will be limiting your long-term potential. Job hopping is like a scarlet letter on your resume, and there is no way to ever erase it. You can't hide job hopping.
The unfortunate thing is that commitment only goes one way, right? They want us to commit, but they won't commit. And unfortunately, some people can't help but get fired because of the economy. So she left that out. She put it all on the job holder. She does have a point, though. No doubt about it, but we're not in a normal economy. Mitch, can you please give some advice to Gen Z, so the younger men and women, mom and pops in this job market, and understand that it's getting worse. And actually, it's probably a lot worse than even you and I are considering. They're going to the meetings, the networking, they're doing all these things, and I've heard a lot of these videos, and they still can't find a job. So what advice can you give them, Mitch?
There's really 2 categories. So those are people who may not be able to find a job, but are employable. And there are people who, due to lack of training, are not employable and cannot find a job. So it's really two categories. But I want to make a point, which is, regardless of the category that these people are in, having access to the true data would give them direction as to what it is that they should be doing. Could be you have to leave the location that you're in to find a job that you believe you are currently trained for, not that you're not capable of learning another skill. So understanding the data, which is why one of the things we keep harping on, aside from the networking, is truly understand what's going on around you. Because you can't hold a conversation with somebody through networking if you don't understand that. And just a few seconds ago, a headline came in, and I don't believe this headline, but I want to make a point. The headline is, native-born workers rise by 2 million. This is the unemployment and employment. Native-born workers rise by 2 million, and foreign-born drop by 1.6 million. Now, I don't believe that headline for a second. Here's the problem. Either should anybody else, because if you don't have the source of the data, then how is it exactly that you would know what to look for so that you are not manipulated? And with regard to the job hopping, well, like Travis said, that's a bit of an issue, because when you're in school, be it university, college, what have you, even grade 8, 9, 10, you should be taught these things. Well, you want to be going into a direction where you are employable and you understand the math. Again, we come right back to the school system. If you don't know this and you have a degree, and there are a lot of people that graduate that literally can't add, we've seen it. They have set you up for failure, and they're hiding behind their own, in reality, incompetence. These are people like the BLS, and I'm not picking on the BLS per se. I'm simply saying this is a machine that is producing massive quantities of data, none of which is real. Because if you can't get down to the local district, I don't care where it is, local school district, and say, this is the unemployment rate. This is the true unemployment rate. And then you add all those unemployment rates up across the United States to get to the true picture, then you end up with nonsense headlines like this. There's simply no truth in this. Native-born workers rise by 2 million, foreign-born drop by 1.6. It's all about being manipulated. Don't be manipulated.
Well, speaking of not being manipulated, I want to give the viewers an update on the advocacy. So I'm going to take you guys real quick to my website so I can show you guys what my plans are and what I'm doing and how I'm trying not to go bankrupt to do it, because Mitch and I have made a decision to where essentially pretty much at this point, there's some lawsuit stuff here and there, litigation support here and there, but it's going to be for free. Our entire platform and the material that we're creating and the help and the lessons and all the stuff that we're doing is free. And let me show you guys, but there's a but. I gotta be very careful because I have a tendency to go bankrupt. Let me show you guys my website. I'll be working on this more today. It's a little bit noisy. I'm gonna make this a lot cleaner. Now, we already have a lot of stuff for you guys, especially on property taxes. If you wanna take the quiz, I made you guys a free quiz. I made you guys a free one-page talking point on why we need to abolish property taxes. Here's the People's Bill to abolish property taxes. We have so much, guys, the Freedom of Information Act request. We have how to buy a house for free, how to do the math to find a great deal for free, how to fight property taxes in the ARB, that's all free, how to end property taxes, tax protest form, it's all here. Here's my litigation support. But when we go to more, and you guys are gonna start seeing a lot more valuable stuff, because I want you to start sharing this and I'm gonna start pushing this a lot more. But this is what I'm working on, school board and ISD bonds. So I'm gonna have an entire curriculum here, very easy, step-by-step on how to get back the schools and bring those to the public. So I'm going to teach you guys how to battle bonds and how to get elected to the board trustee. So I'll have a link. So basically it's going to be a subject, it's going to be a link to the data, and it's going to be a video on how to access the data. And part of this is also going to show you guys how to post on social media to have a big impact. I'm also going to do things like how to film, because one very, very, very important thing, besides me not going bankrupt, is teaching you guys to film and to post that stuff on social media. We need as many people as possible that are filming the corruption and debauchery. And we need as much as the public as possible to view that information, because we must be united. We must stay hopeful. and we must help each other. Okay, so enjoy your life. I love you guys. You're doing great. Mitch, I want to give you the final words.
So Jeff Mashburn is redoing his site as well to make it easier for people to navigate. And what we've produced, the amount of data that has been produced in the last 11 months is absolutely incredible.
Plus effort.
That commonsenslaw.org, that's Jeff's site, Travis's site. And if you go back and look at the history of everything that's been done on the YouTube channel, this is a mountain of published evidence, and it has been for free. Part of the issue is, as Travis has said, it's difficult, when you're in the heat of the battle, to keep these websites clean, extremely difficult. And to that point, we've got another site, and I mentioned it before, the attorney is working on it as far as getting it programmed out to do. And it's a fairly simple issue, but it'll be separate even from my site, designed to funnel everybody that is interested in these problems into buckets so that they can get where they need to go that much quicker. On my site, we've got what's called the article section. You can look that up, and that's all the stuff that I've been writing in addition to the Amicus brief. It's all there. The point is, we're doing the best we can to clean up, go backwards, get it straight so that mom and pop can find what it is that they want at the speed they want it. And then we'll start moving forward based on cleaner sites. So we're hammering away.
Yeah, it is really hard, and it costs money, and it's really hard to be, I think the viewers know this, but my full-time, pretty much my sole income is from YouTube. I consider myself now, Mitch, a investigative cinematographer. I would say journalist, but you guys know how horrible my grammar is. It's absolute debauchery. I mean, it's worse than the BLS data. It's so bad. I get made fun of all the time. But I do want you guys to know we are going to continue to fight and to work for you guys and to educate you guys. So that's a little bit of update there. Also, when I'm done doing this video, I'm going to start making my social media accounts for Real Estate Mindset Facebook. We have an X. We're going to do TikTok, Instagram, all that nonsense. But we're really going to push really, really hard to help mom and pop start being aware of what's going on, but also just as important, to start getting us all to work together. So learn first, and then let's unify, let's come up with a plan, and let's all attack that single plan together and make a difference, because that's the only way we're going to get permanent change. This is a bad situation. They're lying to us. We've proved it to you. Maybe you don't agree. Comment below, share this. We love you. Stay hopeful. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know we wish you luck. We hope you win.